And NFTs, I think, is a vehicle for that, not just because it can have monkey pictures, but also because inside, on the technical front, on the metadata front, you can add all of the evidence pieces from the grassroots level that allows you to trust that your money, your donation, your investment, depending on the NFT's utility, is going to this wallet and is going to this action, and have insight to that whole transparent chain.
We can do so much more with NFTs than just that. Palmyra is doing that, of course. We're utilizing NFTs for tokenization and embedded traceability and all the cool stuff that we're doing. Now, what I wanted to know is, how do you in what you're doing? How do you see NFTs having an impact? How can they help? Well, first of all, how can this technology help you, and how can you utilize this technology to its fullest potential, which is actually, like I said, one of the reasons why the idea of Palmyra was born, is because I saw this awesomeness in the possibility of what you can do with NFTs, and this, kind of the narrative kind of getting hijacked, but it's like, well, let's just do this one thing with it. And it's not even like a really good use case for it, but let's just do one thing with it. And then just gonna, oh yeah, all this other stuff is whatever. So what do you think? I mean, how can this technology help? Does it help? I mean, does it make sense in the field that you're in?
Yeah, I think with what we're working on, we actually released what we call the proof of impact art collections. Perfect timing. So these art pieces you see on screen right now have been created by Streets of Ada. So this is our other kind of artivist collective. Those pieces were made by my brother and I, and also I think Vic's off screen right now, but he's also been very kind in sharing his awesomeness and creating that piece with the chainsaw on top of the tree. Now, art can stir emotions. It can make you question things, right? It can inspire you. It can make you get off your chair and do something. Music and art. So I figured, looking at everything that's happening in this space, without getting bogged down by the terminology of NFTs and crypto and blockchain, these words, if we zoom out and you're like, right, what are the real world problems that need addressing? Okay, rainforests are being illegally logged. That's one. Why is that a problem? Because if we're logging the rainforest that should be remaining as old growth rainforest, they should continue to stand there to benefit the locals and humanity, because up to 80% of greenhouse gas emissions are absorbed by our rainforests. If we chop them all down just so that we can make room for profit generating endeavors, we will eventually all become extinct. Because if we lose the critical ecosystems that we all depend on, unless we've invented something that I'm not aware of that produces clean air and absorbs carbon emissions and provides us with all of the protection that we need, then we're all going to be screwed. So who's actually working on the front lines? The people that live there most of the time, the indigenous communities, the locals, the people in the rainforests or close to the land. The governments of these countries, however, they do what they can. They have their agencies and departments and their politicians and their bureaucrats and their laws. But if you have profit generation possibilities off of this land, it's very tempting, isn't it, to create jobs, to boost your economic growth of your country. So you tap into those places, even if they're supposed to be protected. And the people who are in between that illegal activity and protecting what is most at stake, they're most of the time doing it as volunteers. or they're doing it for, let's put it in common language, like below minimum wage. They're doing it not for the money. They're doing it because other things matter and it's important. Sometimes they are part of more organized structures like an association, a non-profit, a for-good company. And because they're in those entities, they can sometimes attract donations and grant funding and corporate social responsibility support. But as we have seen, the reports are all out there. If you look at the world of aid and philanthropy and giving, which is like 200 billion USD plus annually, how much of that is going to the people doing the actual work? It's not the lion's share. They're still complaining about being poor, about being unappreciated or being killed. And that really, for me is just unacceptable. So when I met these people in the Philippines and Indonesia who were telling me that, we just enforcing the law. Environmental law says you can do citizens arrest when an illegal activity is taking place. So if we receive intel that tells us that there's illegal fishing, illegal logging, we go there, we speak to these people on a one-to-one human level, right? We're like, we know you guys are doing something that ultimately is so you can, bring dinner to your table. We're not enemies here. The system is creating the situation where it's like us against each other, but the bigger picture is we're all part of the same community. So how do we work together and realize who the real enemy is? And so when have understood what's at stake, and there was a documentary that cast a light in the Philippines in Palawan called Delicado. It's an Emmy-nominated documentary, and you realize that people are literally getting murdered doing ranger patrols. And you're thinking, how do we broadcast that to a global community that cares about these issues and wants to support? And NFTs, I think, is a vehicle for that, not just because it can have monkey pictures, but also because inside, on the technical front, on the metadata front, you can add all of the evidence pieces from the grassroots level that allows you to trust that your money, your donation, your investment, depending on the NFT's utility, is going to this wallet and is going to this action, and have insight to that whole transparent chain, which traditionally is not the case. Like if I go onto one of the big leading NGO websites and I see pictures and I'm like, right, donation, 10 euros, $10, sent, and then I don't know. And then maybe I get an email saying, oh, it went to this impact project or this impact project. Most people don't have much time to dive deeper to verify that. They just assume it's happening. And then, reports come out and they say, right, 80% is going to overheads and actually admin and offices that aren't on the ground. They're the ones that then drip feed it to the ground, because the ones on the ground don't have the resources, capacity, and maybe access to that money. They're dependent on those who are bigger. And this is something called the non-profit industrial complex, the NPIC. Some people may be familiar with the military industrial complex or the prison industrial complex. There is a non-profit industrial complex as well. And, for me, working with non-profits or activists and introducing these tools to them and saying to them, there are people that care. There are people that want to invest in your programs, your ecotourism initiatives, your education initiatives, your sustainable livelihood initiatives. And you can bring more direct funding to them using this artivist in a vehicle of NFTs, which is what we've been working on.